This is the Dad La Soul Sessions. Welcome to your Thursday evening. It's the 30th of January, 2025. My name is Jim Colson, and I'm live here this afternoon recorded. Hey, it doesn't matter, right? Okay, so we've got some great stuff coming up. It's the time where I get to do the amazing, like, this morning menu type thing, which is one of my favorite bits. So here we go. Let's play the music and let's put the thing on. Coming up, first of all, you've got Dan La Soul. Dan Flanagan will be talking about what's going on with Dad La Soul, all the information that you need to know and excitement and stuff like that. Then about 9:22, you've got Alex with his conflict management clinic. And the main guest of the evening, just before 9 o'clock probably, is going to be Charlotte Albrecht from the Early Birth Association. She's going to be talking about what they do, why they do it, her story, how she got involved, and how the Early Birth Association and Dad La Soul are coming together like that, in a Ricky Gervais synergy type hand gesture to help dads and parents and families work their way through situations that they maybe find themselves in with premature births and the sort of situations that the Early Birth Association deals with on a day-to-day basis. So find out more about that a little bit later on. First of all, this is Dan Flanagan. This is the Dad La Soul Sessions. It's Dad La Soul, and it's the sessions. And we need to talk to the king, the Grandpa Simpson, the Uber Lord of Dad La Soul. It's Dan Flanagan. Hello, Dan Flanagan.
Hello, very enthusiastic Jim. That is quite a welcome. I'm exhausted. Because I'm a grown-up and middle-aged life is hard. But it is a pleasure to always come and sit for a few minutes on your show.
Yes, exactly. So you have been doing many things and you have many things coming up and it's all very exciting for Dad La Soul. So try and, if you can, compact some of those things into some thoughts and share them with the viewers of this live stream.
Okay, what have we got coming up? We've got Dads versus Nerf Wars over in Brighton, courtesy of our friends at the Outdoors Project. Wonderful thing, because normally you go to these events, shot in a Rambo, put the war paint on there, and go and shoot your kids with guns, because they're going to donate the money to Dad La Soul, so you can, release that tension. Oh, little Johnny didn't do his homework. Oh, he gave me a bit of back chat, did he? On Thursday, right? I'm taking him down. I'm taking him down with Nerf Wars. So yeah, that's in a couple of weeks. Already sold out, but we are planning to do lots of other events with them this Thursday. So the time this is going out, I will be interviewing a couple of wonderful people about their IVF story with one of the UK's most prevalent IVF doctors at our Dad La Soul sessions in Brighton. We are producing a rap track based around helping kids with maths with some wonderful people. So big shout to Tej, Feldman, Cy Cannon, Chris, and the lovely Claire, who were giving up their time to make magic happen. We had an amazing play date on Saturday where we got all the dads and kids discussing what they like about maths, what they hate about maths, and then ended up with a massive drum and bass freestyle session based on isosceles and what happens if you steal little Johnny's apples and give them to Brian.
What does rhyme with isosceles?
No, I think the lyric is get to the point like isosceles.
Okay, nice. Oh God, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't muck about with untalented folks. So yeah, we've got all the kids to give us all the ideas, wrote them on paper, and then that's going to craft the lyrics. So yeah, we've got lots of stuff going up. There's some potential for Dad La Soul Junior sessions where we're going to run play dates, and that's going to be for dads of like newborns up to 3. So you can come and get some help and support and community with early years practitioners. Summer parties we're in discussion about, Halloween parties we're in discussion about, potential event at a rather well-known Premier football club. So it's all the plates that we're spinning to give you, our lovely listeners, our lovely community, a kick-ass social life that could end up saving your life.
Okay, it's not Melchester Rovers, the home of Roy of the Rovers, is it?
It's not. When you said Melchester Rovers, I was thinking Roger Melly on the telly
Oh, right, yeah.
as a sports fan. Again, cutting edge references there for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to try and work out what was it in Footballers' Wives? Was it Harchester United or something?
Harchester. Well, yeah, I would prefer to go there.
Yeah.
You know, I used to enjoy Footballers' Wives.
For the technical discussion, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for taking me there. Right, that's another hour of my life. You know, I've just lost where I'm going onto YouTube and then discover something
probably
past.
Yeah, unfortunately so. That's the thing, isn't it? With nostalgia, the problem is with nostalgia, it's big business, but also then you remember how bad stuff was, and it can ruin those.
The production values were probably not as tight or well invested in with the shonky scenery or the terrible acting or the terribly racist accents.
Quite possibly. Oh my god, yeah. So like it's busy. Dadasol's busy. There's lots of busy things going on. You're still finding time to go for 5 a.m. sea swims and stuff.
Oh yeah, that was Sunday. So lovely Tyler Slade, friend of the show, friend of the community, convinced 14 or 15 of us dads and lads to wake up in the crack. Well, it wasn't even the crack of dawn. It was before dawn had even, raised an eyelid. Running around in the pitch black on the beach, freezing cold. And we jumped in the sea, had a sauna, and we spent 2-3 hours together having conversations around the fire. But then we were all back for about 8 o'clock in the morning. So once the kids are up, and you've got your Sunday jobs to do and whatever, we'd already felt wonderful. And to be honest, I felt really smug. So I told everybody that I bumped into that day that I'd been up early and done that thing. But spiritually, the amount of endorphins that I felt afterwards, I was off my rocker. I was buzzing, and it was all free and it was all chemical free and it was wonderful. It's just like, oh, this stuff could be addictive.
Yeah.
I'm not getting up at 5 o'clock every day to do it.
No, there's downsides for everything there. But
yeah, I don't want to get high on my own supply. So it's a monthly treat to look forward to, and enjoy. So yeah, that was brilliant because there was some guys that are very, very dedicated to the cause. There was a range of new lads that had come along that had heard about it or maybe saw one of our talks at our Dad's Only a few weeks ago. You know what? I'm a bit lonely, or I'm putting on a few pounds and I don't want to go to the gym and I don't like that. And what can I do? And I think there were 6 or 7 of the lads came up during the Dad's Only session and they started telling their own personal stories of change, how it helped them mentally, physically, with their relationships, with their stress, with their ability to, maybe cut down on that extra few bottles of wine or glass of wine at the end of an evening. So yeah, really, really positive stuff.
And accountability as well. And we talk about that a lot, don't we? Like
other
people doing it. And
you've got to show up. If other people are getting their bums out of bed in the cold night, you've got to try. Not that, anything bad would happen to you. It's not like afterwards, we made a list of the people that didn't show up, went around, kicked open their doors, firebombed their house, and put their dog up for adoption, which I think would actually make more people turn up.
Yeah.
Always say that if you didn't do it, it's fine. Here's the video and the photos of the stuff you missed, and it's wonderful. And give them a sense of FOMO.
Yeah. Come next time. Do it next time. Certainly.
Yeah, we've signed up for months. So yeah, the music, the play dates, the Dad's Only, loads of conversations. We've got some new colours coming on our swanky merchandise as well. Ready for Mother's / Father's Day / Dave next door, 2 doors down's birthday. You can buy some cool stuff. And obviously we've got the Dad the Soul Extra Time show that goes out on Face Radio on Sunday morning. So this is going out on Thursday. But if you want something, I would say over your cornflakes, by 11 o'clock, you probably had your cornflakes. But, you're having a coffee, kids are not under your feet, put 2 hours on and listen to Jim and I talk really deep, meaningful, intense conversations.
I mean, I think this week there is a good 5-minute chat about going for gold with Henry Kelly. But
Noel's House Party, urban myths.
Yeah, exactly.
Mindy.
Yeah.
and Bob Dylan.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of chat, and if you want to get hold of some merch, by the way, I've just put a QR code up there. Look, it's up there.
Almost like disprepared, isn't it?
Click it. Well,
Click
you
it.
don't click it, do you? You scan it, and then. But
You
whatever.
scan it.
Yeah, basically.
They're watching this on their phone. It's like, how can I scan it while I'm on my phone?
Yeah, there is probably a way to do that, and I think what we need is a guide to helping middle-aged men understand how to do that.
The guide involves asking your children.
I don't understand. Getting someone else's phone.
Yeah, you can be like the IT call center that just phones up their kids because the printer's not working.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's me. Right. Well, Dan, thank you very much. It's good to know what's going on with Dad Lasol, and I hope you have a lovely, lovely time.
Back at you, comrade, and viva la revolution.
Indeed. Thank you very much to Dan Flanagan there. And now, seamlessly, I've moved to a different room and have put on different clothes. It's almost like we've recorded these things on 2 different days, but shh, don't tell anyone. It's the magic of the internet. And I'm joined by the brilliant, as ever, Alex, who's here with his conflict management clinic. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Jim. And yourself?
Yeah, all right, not bad. I'm starting to have got out of that January lull that a lot of people get into. And now I'm delighted that we're heading into another month at some point soon.
Yeah, I was just thinking that you must have a telephone box in your house somewhere so that you could get changed really quickly between the interviews.
Yeah, that's it is. I don't want to give away too many of the details, but there's some kryptonite involved somewhere on the line.
Indeed.
So people have been sending in their conflict management issues that they've got. You are kindly going to give them some words of advice. And this one is, it seems every time my partner says something, it's to complain or moan or criticize. I'm having trouble not feeling brought down by her. It's worth noting it's a difficult time for her personally and for us as a family, but still, I find myself bored or annoyed by her, and it's obviously having an impact on the relationship. How can I change that?
Okay, so straight in this time with the C word, with the word before it as being open communication.
Ding, ding, ding.
Choose a calm moment to try and have a conversation. So don't have this conversation when you're emotions because of something that's just been said. It's she'll say, "Where's this come from?" out of the blue, but you choose a calm moment. Have the chat and say, you know, when you constantly bring up negative things, drained, discouraged, whatever, but say I yourself, yeah. But at the same time, try and validate her feelings. Is she, you know, because she's going through a tough time, accept that and say, you know, it is tough, but we mustn't take it out on each other. You know, whatever the issue is, we need to deal with it together. Yeah. And then, you know, ask questions, see if there's something that you are doing that is really winding her up. There's always that possibility. Try to set some boundaries, you know, rather than her having a go because XYZ has happened. It's not actually your fault or anything to do with you, but you're the nearest, for want of a better description, punch bag to take it out on. Hopefully not literally. And, you know, take a break if you feel it's getting out of control and just say, look, you know, we're getting heated here. I'm going to take, you know, time out. Yeah. And actually literally call time out. Yeah. And you need to start thinking about sort of coping mechanisms. You've got to cope with her feelings and her emotions, and she's got to cope with them as well. But that goes the other way. She's got to learn to cope with your emotions and feelings. So you just need to have this open conversation where you continually strive to try and achieve a common goal. It's not going to be a quick process. Obviously, I don't know what the underlying trauma is that's going on at the moment, the tough times, and whether that has an end in sight or not. But if it does have an end in sight, then use that as your target point, yeah, to try and get to a really good place.
Great. No, sounds good. So I like that thing about I as well, because you don't want to go, you're making me feel like this, do you? Because then that's into the battle.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I work in a very safe business, but my preference is to look for more innovative and risky solutions. I like my boss and my team, but I'd like them to take the brakes off a bit and take more risks. I'm middle management, so I can't really push it through on my own. How can I encourage them to think bigger without scaring them?
So the first thing is, if this was your business, your money, your livelihood on the line, would you take that risk? If the answer is no, then politely shut up and get on with what your boss wants. Yeah. Simple as that. If you're not prepared to put your money where your mouth is, don't put your mouth there. If, however, you would be happy and think this is an acceptable risk, it's a risk benefit and the benefit outweighs the risk, so therefore in theory it's worth doing. Put forward your ideas. Put forward a safe idea, put forward a balanced idea with a bit of risk in it, and then put forward the riskier idea. That shows that you're thinking across the spectrum.
Right.
Add into that the pros and the cons of each of those three ideas that you've got. But above all, keep it short. Yeah, I don't know what sort of business you're in. I don't know what sort of the ideas would be. But, if I was your boss, I tend to switch off after, if somebody's pitching an idea to me, they've got about 30 seconds on each idea. Before I'm either going, yes, I'm in, to knowing more about it, or nah, I've switched off. Right. Develop your skill of making your boss think that the idea was theirs. Now, there is a whole session in that one statement, which I'm not going to go into how to do that, because I could literally spend 2 hours talking about tricks and tips and techniques to do that. But it is a skill and it takes practice. It's something I've done for a few years. I'm not saying I'm necessarily very good at it, but I've done it and it can be very useful. Remember, the final thought I'd give you, the most dangerous thing in business that anyone can ever say is, well, we'll do it that way because we've always done it that way.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is the quickest way to disaster.
Ooh, a lot to think about. I love it. It's like those, isn't it? Like those football fans that are screaming at a football club owner to spend £5 million on some player no one's ever heard of. And you think, if that was your money, would you be spending it? And the answer is invariably no.
Exactly. It's all well and good when you're not the one who carries the can if things go wrong.
No, of course. This one says, how can I handle the parents of the lads in the football team I coach? They're under 8. I make sure I rotate them as fairly as possible. Some parents think their kids should play more game time. Admittedly, they are the better players, but at this age, I reckon it should be fairness and fun.
Okay. I happen to be the welfare officer of a sports club, so I know a fair amount about the classic pushy parents.
This is up your street, right?
Yeah, so they can be a real challenge. The best way is to make sure that the club, and this applies to any club, not just a football club, but I use football club as an example because this is what we're talking about. With a football club for young people, is that club about having fun and developing the person as a person, or is it about identifying and streaming into the next set of Premier League players? That's the crux of this. So if you've got the parents who are saying my son's better and he should be playing more, right, you need to be at a club where their goal is to churn out Premier League players. If you've got the parent who goes, I just want my kid to play and have fun, then that's a different type of club. Now, one club can offer both of those very easily. Whatever you do, they mustn't be streamed as the A team and the B team. That's never going to work, not in today's society. Yes, when you and I were at school, Jim, I'm sure there were A teams, B teams, C teams, depending how big your school was, but it's not the way to do it outside of a school environment. When it's a club, when it's voluntary, when it's just about initially having fun, you need to have the development section, which is the future Premier League players, and the fun and exercise. I was trying to think really of a different word as it was the opposite of the development team, and all I could come up with fun and exercise was a bit naff, and I'm sorry about that, but the gist of what I'm trying to say is that it's about encouraging people to realize that is it one about getting kids out there, learning to play a team sport, having fun, staying fit, not sitting in my surgery age 15 with type 2 diabetes, which is what we were trying to avoid. In other words, exercise. Or is it about actually you're that determined that your son is going to play for Man U? Well, actually, probably, I don't follow football, but Man U, Man City, Liverpool, Everton. I've picked northern teams. I better pick some southern ones. Brighton, the local one, obviously. I won't say the one beginning with C and P because I've lots of Brighton fans. But or Tottenham or Chelsea or Arsenal. Who is it about playing for them, or is it about actually just having fun, learning to play with other people in a team sport, which translates into work life in later life? What's it about? And that's what you need. And I would challenge parents. I have stood there and challenged parents and said, do you want your child to be the next Olympian, or do you want your child to have fun?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good question to ask them.
And if they're going to keep me into my old age, it's the Olympian. So
yeah.
And last one, I'm a newly separated after 20 years of marriage. I left the house a month ago, not getting any joy accessing time on my own with the kids. Now, the older one's 20, so no matter. The younger one's 12. She doesn't want to see me, and I'm broken on the inside. I just need a sensible strategy for the way forward. There's no child arrangement order, and I don't move into my new flat till March. So are there any words of advice you can offer for this one?
First of all, I'm going to give two answers, and that is, one, was your split up with your ex-partner amicable or not amicable? I don't know. So let's go, first of all, if it was amicable split, in other words, you're on good relations, you're talking, I won't say you're friends necessarily, but you are friendly, then work with your ex-partner to try and rebuild a new style, but old leaning, if that makes sense, relationship with your daughter. So obviously your daughter lives with your ex-partner, so your ex-partner is going to have main amounts of contact. If your daughter doesn't want to see you, doesn't want to speak with you, okay, what you need to do is you need to help your ex-partner to be able to talk about you and say, well, I chatted to dad today and he was doing whatever. And that's the way you try and build it, because she will need input from both sides. That's the easier option. If it was a non-amicable split, therefore you do not have a good working parental relationship with your ex, then you're going to have to be able to chat and communicate with your daughter directly. Now, it's not that you can't do that with the amicable split. I'm just saying you won't have that extra little bit you can do on the amicable. So talk directly to your daughter, engage with her via whatever means. Usually in this day and age, that means technology. Don't beg, don't plead, don't cry, don't moan at her. Don't say, I really miss you, I want to see you, etc. What you want to do is, hi, it's Dad. How are you? It was a really, good day at work today. Say something about your life. That's fairly neutral. Ask her about her day. Ask her about, tell her about your plans for what you're going to do tomorrow, the day after, at the weekend, but do not ask her what her plans are, because she might perceive that as slightly threatening of you trying to find out where she is, what she's going to do, and so on. So tell her about your plans, but don't ask her about hers. When she's ready, she'll hopefully respond to your plans with what her plans might be. When you do manage to sort of engage with her, cut her a huge amount of slack. Don't argue with her, especially if she fights back at you. But once you're settled in your new place and comfortably settled, and it looks like a home and not just somewhere that you've landed, if you know what I mean. Like, for example, there are photos up. That's a good one for starters, to make it a home rather than just a place where you lay your head. Start inviting over the 20-year-old. That will be a way in. And then the 20-year-old's younger sister may well then start to want to get engaged and get involved. But this is all going to be time and slow, and always in a very non-confrontational way. But also, don't moan and cry and the "oh woe is me" version of yourself, which is very easy to go when you are clearly, upset at the end of your relationship. I understand that. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much, Alex. Once again, expert advice. We really appreciate it. Everyone who's asked a question, I'm sure, really appreciates it. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Now it's time for our main guest of the evening on the Dadler Soul sessions, and it's Charlotte Albrecht from the Early Birth Association. Charlotte, how are you doing? You all right?
I'm very well. It's great to see you.
Yes, it's good to see you too. One of these many people that I've spoken to on email and heard about before, but never actually spoken to. So this is exciting to actually get to talk to you.
I know. As close as we can get right now, but hopefully one day in person as well.
Well, I keep saying that. I mean, I've been working with Dan for 7 or 8 years, and I've never met him in person. I like to keep myself locked away here in Yorkshire, away from anyone else.
We're a very friendly bunch in Brighton, so do come and see us.
Well, so I've heard. In fact, I got engaged on the beach in Brighton in a storm.
Did you?
Yes. We were.
It's almost a romantic story.
It was. It was more a case of I decided I was going to do it, and the weather was. I was like, right, I'm still going to do it, and it was dark and wet, and she said yes, which is ridiculous.
Well, it is a romantic story. Then she said yes, so we're good.
Exactly. Yeah. I should probably have said it was in the glorious sunshine in the day, but anyway, this is irrelevant. I don't even know why I've gone down this line. We want to talk about the Early Birth Association. The Early Birth Association, what is it?
The Early Birth Association is a charity that supports the Trevor Mann Baby Unit at the top of the hospital in Brighton, which is a specialist neonatal unit for babies who are either born premature or very poorly. And we are a group of 10 parents who have all been through the unit. We've all had babies there. And we help support the babies, the staff, and the parents who go through their journey up at the top of the tower. The charity's been around for 41 years now, so we are an iteration of parents who've gone through this. But our remit is really to try and give back, but also to support the staff. We fund a mind clinic where the staff can access counselling support. We also supply goods for the kitchen, so lots of people spend a huge amount of time up there, and as a parent it's incredibly easy to forget to eat, which sounds a bit bonkers, but it's a highly emotional place to be. So we stock the cupboards with food so that parents can always have access to toast and hot drinks and cereal and snacks. We also supply welcome packs for mothers who have arrived in an emergency scenario. They may need a wash bag. We also supply breastfeeding kits for the mums to transport their milk to and from the unit. And then we also fundraise for bigger pieces of equipment that the unit feel they need that they might not be able to get in a timely manner through the NHS. So that on top of support from knit and natter groups and sewing groups who provide us with other really useful things from the unit, bonding patches for mothers and babies or parents and babies to share, and covers for the incubators, all things like that. It's a real community project to support people going through that very, very difficult process.
I was going to say community is definitely what it sounds like. It's, it's one of these things that it is something that I guess would be running without the additional help, but would not be running in a way that is as helpful for parents who find themselves in that situation, I guess.
Yes, that's very much it. We're kind of a support arm on the side of what is a very busy and important unit. We're very fortunate to have 2 members of the nursing team on our committee, which is amazing because we get inside out information, things that are needed, things that would be a real love for them to have, but there isn't funding for, and we're able to sort of fill some of those gaps in a timely manner. One of the things that was really great during COVID, not that COVID was great in any way, but we were able to fund a piece of technology called, I can't think what it's called off the top of my head, but VR Create, there we go. And what it enabled the doctors and nurses to do was create short video clips or summaries of appointments that doctors had had with the babies when the families weren't able to come in. And it's a tool that we've been able to continue funding, which enables those families who are based much, much further away to have more regular contact and updates on what's going on. So that was a kind of a really quick need at the time that we were able to fund and get up and running really quickly, that benefited huge amounts of people at the time.
So it is like kind of, there are parents who are quite a way away then, and a lot of them, I guess, come in and spend as much time as they can there. But obviously, there comes a time where you have to go back to work and you have to go and do other things. And then you know, people traveling between home and there. How far away can people be?
They support across the southeast. So I know families as far away as Southampton and all through sort of down from Surrey as well. It's a very highly regarded unit. So often babies with more severe problems will be transferred in from other hospitals, which is where you get this distance challenge. It's especially hard for families who've got older children or twins, where maybe a twin goes home and another twin stays, and you get families kind of in this split position of needing to support their family at home, or, like you say, go back to work. In a lot of instances, some of the babies will be on the unit for more than 100 days. So it's a really big impact on your life, and finding logistical ways around that can be quite challenging.
Mm-hmm. And managing sort of parents and their fears and challenges, that's also, I mean, I can see it was really fascinating. You talked about counselling for staff members, because you would expect counselling for parents going through that situation and family members doing that, but also, yeah, staff members, it must be as a place to work, of course, rewarding in many ways, but also hugely challenging for them as well.
Absolutely. They go through so many different things in their job, in the different scenarios that come up, that being able to support them to get through those different challenges is something we're very proud to do. And we know that it makes a difference. There's something like a 99% attendance rate for all appointments booked. So it's a need that we're answering, but it's also something that people are being really responsive to. To your point, the unit also offer psychological help to the parents, and that's something. Part of the one of the reasons that I came across Dan actually and met Dad Lassalle was one of the remits that we really wanted to do more around, was creating some community and some support for the parents. So it's a very isolating experience when you're on the unit, and actually leaving the unit and going back out into the real world with your tiny or recovering baby is quite daunting. And it's difficult when you go into certain circumstances, because you don't necessarily want to talk about the experience you've been through, or there's not an easy way to bring that up. So sometimes people will isolate themselves. They'll choose not to want to go to baby groups. They'll not want to go out. They'll not want to meet other people. Often people who've been through that space won't have potentially been through an NCT, so won't have that kind of pre-built community waiting for them when they come out. And we wanted to really support the parents to make sure that they had a chance to meet other people or talk to people. And I've done that through meeting Dan, and I'm wanting to bring Dad Lassalle in as part of our offering to ensure that the dads get the opportunity to know there's other people there, and connecting those dads who've been through similar experiences so that they can reach out to each other.
I guess from the outside, you don't really think about, you think once you get to go home eventually, you know, however long you've been there, up to 100 days or whatever, with your baby, that's where the situation ends, and you know, now you can go back and then that's it, you're at home. But as you know, as you say, psychologically, with that lack of community that you've got, there's a lot of aftercare needed, which obviously, I mean, is something that it needs an additional service to do, because the NHS can only do so much on its own, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some parents come out of these scenarios with PTSD. You know, there's a lot that goes on. Everyone's story is very different. Everyone responds to that situation differently, but there was a lot of focus before on the babies, quite rightly, and now there's more of a focus on a family approach, you know, ensuring that everybody is being supported through that. The hospital are leading that, and we're trying to find additional ways to support that too. And one of the things that we saw there was a lack of was how to support dads. They often, up on the unit, can't play the same role as the mums. There's a lot of restrictions on visiting hours and how many people you can have in a room. And, you know, when you get into feeding agendas and other things, sometimes dads might be a little bit sidelined, and that's just through the kind of pure necessity of how the medical processes work. But we also find that they often don't ask for help in the same way either. And it wasn't something as a group of volunteers we felt we could answer to. We don't have the skill set to support on that, which is why we wanted to find ways to extend what we do and bring other partners in to help and to show the dads that they matter very, very much, that their well-being is very, very important in this process. Having a space to talk about their experiences, or just have a space to talk, full stop, is really important. But also, you know, through being able to just get out and have a break from it. And that's so difficult, because when you're going through that, you find it very, very hard to leave the hospital and do anything that resembles normal. But it's actually very healthy to try and have a break at the same time. And we just couldn't figure out, between us, 10 sets of very busy parents who, you know, were already doing lots of other things, how we could pull that together. But actually the Dadless Soul piece works really well for us. You have the meetings in Brighton the last Thursday of every month, and they're a short bus journey down the hill from where the hospital is. So we're trying to actively promote that's there, but also the WhatsApp groups there. There's the opportunity to talk to some of the other dads who've been through that experience, and just open up that door, really, let people know there is a way and a space to have some freedom, and also to have a space to talk or not talk or socialize, you know, whatever it is that people need in that time and moment.
Well, I guess that's the thing, isn't it? That everyone handles things in a different way, and manages things in a different way. And everyone's experience is kind of different, and what they need is different. And I guess what we hopefully do is offer that opportunity, if you want it, to speak out, to talk to the group if you need or you want, or to talk to one other person if you want or you need, or to talk to an expert, or to just sit and enjoy it and play some VR and you know, whatever it is that you need to do. So you, as you say, you know, it's 10 parents with experience of the unit. Do you mind talking about your story and how you got involved at all?
No, that's absolutely fine. I knew nothing about premature birth before having a baby. I didn't make it to NCT, so no one told me anything about it there either. I went into spontaneous early labour in my 30th week of pregnancy, and after a night of what I thought was excruciating trapped wind, finally trotted up to the hospital to be told that I was having a baby. And I spent a week in and out of labour before she decided to finally arrive, and she was immediately taken away. So none of the kind of traditional photos, you know, having cuddles, having your family come and visit you at the hospital. She was straight up into the unit. There's 27 cots on TMBU, Trevor Mann Baby Unit, and they're categorised in 3 different nurseries. And she went straight into nursery 1, which is the kind of top care level, where they stabilised her breathing. And she was there for about 48 hours before they were able to confirm that her breathing was okay. And actually, we didn't have any big sort of difficulties, other than she was small and she was very, you know, she was early. So it was then a waiting game of, she stayed in the hospital. As someone who didn't have any complications from birth, I was actually sent home after 4 days. So then it's the challenge of your baby's in the hospital and you're coming and going home each evening, which is still the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, especially because you're asked to still pump and bring your milk in. So you're setting a timer every 3 hours to pump, then go back to the hospital. I, as a list writing, organized person, that's kind of my mode of operating. So I set myself a daily timeline, and I would get in early before the rush hour and then spend probably about 18 hours up there each day. And then my partner had to go back to work, so he would come in the afternoons and we'd swap, and I'd leave her with him, which was my coping mechanism for kind of coming away from that environment. And yeah, come home, eat as much dinner as possible, go straight to bed. I couldn't cope with socializing. I couldn't cope with reading, watching television. Anything that felt vaguely like the real world felt so far removed from where we were at that point in time. You know, we had a very tiny child who we could only bring out of her cot for 2 hours a day, twice a day. So I would do one skin on skin with her. My partner would do his skin on skin with her. I just couldn't think about things like watching a quiz show or picking up the paper. It felt too far removed from our existence. So just lived in a bubble and commuted back and forth between the hospital each day, and tried to tick off the milestones as quickly as we possibly could. We'd initially been told she would be on the unit for probably 8 to 9 weeks, which would be up until her due date, but we were able to bring her home on a feeding tube. So we brought her home after 4 weeks, and then we navigated feeding at home through a tube.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you're obviously well placed to understand what people are going through, and I'm assuming the other sets of parents as well similarly have, you know, kind of experiences that all help you kind of come together and work out what's needed for the parents that are going to be using that in the coming months and years.
Yes, we hope so. It's everyone's, as I said to you before, you can't compare anyone's neonatal journey to anyone else's. There will be people who were in there for a shorter amount of time, but for something far more serious. And then there's people who go through very, very long stays with various incredibly complicated situations weaved into that. So we've always agreed that everyone on the committee should have had an experience of that, to ensure that, you know, we maintain the ethos of what the charity wants to do. But we also, as I say, take guidance from the matron, from the consultants, and from the 2 nurses who are on our committee, because for some of us it's now been 6-10 years since we've been up there, and whilst we might visit to, you know, drop off the Christmas stockings or the Mother's and Father's Day gifts that we supply, there are changes constantly. So it's important for us to remain aware of new challenges or differences from what we experienced. And we kind of take that information from feedback people give us when they're on the unit, meeting with people, staying in touch with them, or people email us and let us know ideas. And we're always really thankful for all of those, because it just helps us stay relevant and evolve the offering that we have.
And do you get more parents sort of afterwards they come back and they want to get involved as well and join the committee? And
yes, we often have families will do sort of big fundraiser once their baby has come away, or in, you know, very tragic circumstances, not all the babies do come away, and families will run memorials or remembrance services or things for their children, and we'll have some families who each year will do something to support. Other people want to get involved with a particular project or a fundraiser. So we have lots of different ways that people carry on, but there's a lot of families who really feel that need to give back when they leave. That's certainly how I got involved. When you're sat on the unit, you have a lot of time on your hands, and I researched a lot about what the cost is for a baby per day up there, and kind of wanted to repay my debt in terms of understanding just what great costs go through the unit, and you know, also the sheer kindness of the staff there. People go above and beyond on a regular basis, and I really felt like, well, me and my family felt like we wanted to do something to give back, and there's a lot of other families who do that too, and we're incredibly thankful for the support that they provide, because it all just pays it on down, you know, other people are feeling the benefit of that.
And it's, I mean, something that's always going to be needed as well. That's the thing, isn't it? Because there's always going to be these babies who come early. And yeah, so it has to be a continuing thing. So what sort of the future for the Early Birth Association then? What's that look like?
So this continued focus around community and support for families when they leave the unit. We're working both with Dan at Dad Soul, but I'm also working with a support group for mothers called Mother Nurture, which is incredible. I think just staying on the pulse really with what the unit needs, ensuring that the levels and supplies that we give are up there, continuing with the Mind Clinic. We had a request this week from the hospital to see if we can find any super crafty supporters who can help us make budgie covers, as they call them. The really big incubators look like big bird cages, and they have a really specific need for how those are designed. They're black on the inside to keep the babies sleeping for as many hours as they should each day, but they're decorated on the outside with really beautiful patterns to keep it as light and joyful for everyone else who's sitting beside one of those. So the requests come in each month, they vary, and we meet to try and support on as many of those opportunities as we can.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of the biggest challenges would you say?
Oh, biggest challenges. There's loads of them. Charity works really hard. I think the biggest challenges are, we always want to do more, and it's really difficult when you volunteer, especially difficult when you volunteer when you've got a family and everyone's got jobs and other responsibilities in their life. So that feeling of doing as much as we possibly can without overwhelming ourselves. Also, just getting paperwork through. So sometimes when we're supporting the NHS, there are procedures and processes their side which feel terribly time consuming to us, but we have to go through the process of what they need us to do. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, one of the other things we really want to do is keep our brand awareness up, let people know that we're there, let them know how we can help, and let them know that we're here to support. So do contact us if we can do that for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I mean, you're on like Facebook and Instagram. You've got a website as well. I will put all that in the description of the show. But also, I guess if someone wants to support the Early Birth Association, is it just get in contact through the same channels? And
and there's a button on our website as well. I guess one of the things that would be great to talk about is obviously slightly unusual as a charity working alongside Dad Soul. Would you call yourselves do you guys call yourselves a not-for-profit? You're not a charity.
Yes, a not-for-profit. A community interest company.
A community interest company.
Which I can never remember that, but I did right now, and I'm very proud of myself.
Well done, you. Top point. Yes, one of the things that we're doing is we're donating towards helping run the Brighton group. So ensuring that dads have access at no cost to anything that Dad Soul run. And that's kind of a new area for us. As I mentioned before, we spent a long time trying to work out how we could create these support offerings and couldn't land on something that we as a charity could deliver ourselves. We don't have the time availability or the experience to do that. But by working with groups with similar interests and providing support to them to run things that we can signpost to, it's creating that wider opportunity. And that's exciting.
And that's it for us as well. It is good to have your knowledge and expertise as well, because we want to be able to support as many dads as possible. And of course, there's that association in Brighton. But obviously we have groups elsewhere. We have the online groups, and to be working with people who've been through situations, and as you say, I know everyone's journey is different, but it gives us more of an understanding of how we can signpost people, I guess, and help them take the next steps if they're in that situation and they need that help. And just to understand that situation, because if you've not been in it, I mean, I can imagine, but I can't really feel it because I've not been in it. I mean, you know, when you were talking about just waiting that 48 hours to find out information, I mean, that would hit me that, you know, I can't. It's bad enough when you're waiting, you know, 20 minutes for something like that, or 10 minutes or an hour or so, but 48 hours to find out information about your newborn child with all that's gone on as well, and the anxiety and the fear and everything that happens. So it's good for us to have an insight into how people feel and what they need and what would be helpful for them, what would be helpful for us to do to listen to them so they can tell us what they need, I guess.
Yeah, and just sometimes when you meet with someone else who's been through that experience, it's not even needing to go into that level of detail. It's just going, oh, do you know what? That beeping noise. It's something that haunts parents forever. And you go other places and you're suddenly really triggered by the fact that you're hearing these constant beeps that you've been and sat, and it catches you out at weird times sometimes, or you might not be expecting it, and being able to talk to someone else who's been through the same thing, or you have a conversation with someone you think only someone else who's been through this would understand why this is difficult for me to process what you're talking about. So yeah, that community, and but also I think for us to be able to now signpost to Dadless Soul on the unit just shows the dads that it's important for them to consider that their role in the process, that they have a place to feel sad, feel mad, feel angry, feel broken, all those things, and you know that we're recognizing they're a part of the journey and that they're really important, and that these spaces exist for them to go and, like I said before, switch off or chat or whatever it is that they need at that time, and we've never been able to do that before. So I'd love for as many people as possible to know that that is there for them now, and Dan and I are going to do our best to make sure that all the dads know. We're going for a briefing at the hospital next week to educate all the team, all the staff on who Dan is, what Dadless Soul is, who we are as the EBO, make sure that everybody knows that these options are there for them, so that as many people as possible can feel the impact of that support.
Yeah, it's one of those things that there's a lot of, I know that Brighton tonight, they're talking about IVF, and we find a lot of these situations where they're things that affect both parents. Mm-hmm. A lot of the focus is on the mum a lot of the time, and obviously that's always going to happen. And it's, you know, the idea is not to take away from that, but the idea is to also go, but dads as well, and also because the focus has to be a lot on the mum, dads can feel a bit like they're out there, you know, cut adrift a bit, and it just is, you know, it's an additional thing. It's in addition to that we're looking for, and you know, that's what a lot of these situations. It's just noticing that men also have that problem a lot of the time of not talking about those things, thinking, well, I'm not the focus, I do need to step back, but actually do need to talk about those things. So
well, a partner needs their partner, don't they? You know, when anyone's going through a really difficult time, you need people to lean on, and whether that's, you know, a partner or a dad, you know, like a grandfather or an uncle, you know, there's so many different combinations of family set up, but people need each other, and if one person's crumbling without talking about it, it's not going to help anyone else either. So staying strong for everyone, including yourself, is really important in these situations.
Well, it's a great partnership to have. I think it works perfectly. It's for both, you know, for our community, for your community, and creating that sort of joint community is perfect. Charlotte, thank you so much for coming on the Dadless Soul sessions and talking about the Early Birth Association.
You're very welcome. We're very, very thankful to be partnering with you. It means a lot to us.
And the Dadless Soul sessions returns the first Thursday of March. I think that's what we do. I'm struggling because we've changed things around for Christmas and New Year and for this, and I can't remember what we do when we do it. But yeah, just look at dadlersoul.com or on our socials. And this is the professionalism that you're dealing with here, Charlotte. This is this is my thing. I can set the rules, and I can't even remember the rules. So
well, it keeps it real.
It does keep it real. That's the excuse I give myself. So thank you very much once again to Charlotte, to Alex, and to Dan as well. That's the Dadler Soul sessions for tonight. Thank you very much for taking part.